Okay, so we are live. Melvin with the FullSend Weightlifting Podcast. Why don't you all introduce yourselves?
How we doing, guys? First of all, thanks for having us. My name is Chris. I am here with my lovely wife. That is the brains behind SoCal Weightlifting and everything else that we try to do in weightlifting, I guess. Yeah, so I've been a weightlifter for a little over 10 years. Started in Pasadena with Coach Stacano. Spent a little bit of time on the other side of the country training under John North, and then came home and started SoCal Weightlifting in 2014. So we're just past 9 years old. And in that time, we've had maybe 5-6 different evolutions of the club, from my garage all the way to what it is now with over 200 active weightlifters.
Jeez.
In the meantime, we've also gotten involved with Onyx, and we became part owners of Onyx Weightlifting Co. in 2018 and grew that into a USAW sponsor, and still working on that. We got Onyx lives right upstairs of the training hall. So we make the leather products right above where all the athletes are training.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, pretty badass. Yeah, and then I guess there's a couple more things that we I guess try to do in weightlifting, and one of them is we're bringing back to life a American-made bumper plate.
Okay.
Company's called Maverick Barbell. Started in the early '60s, and
yeah, I remember them.
Yeah, so that's been like kind of the new project for the last couple of years that we've been quietly working on and getting ready to launch. And we just had our first like inaugural Maverick Summer Classic. So yeah, those are kind of the big things.
Yeah, that's a lot. Y'all are doing a lot. You're balancing a lot. How do you stay on top of it all?
Sorry, you cut out there a little bit, Melvin.
Oh, I was saying that is a lot to manage. How do you like stay on top of it all and stay out ahead of it so it doesn't like run you all into the ground?
Oh, dang it. I'll let you take that one.
Well, I mean, it's just about having the right people on your team. So it's not Chris and I doing everything. We certainly have our roles, and those are, defined, and what we're responsible for is defined. But having an awesome team to support you, and they have their jobs, and prioritize that and continue to support them and really take as many things out of their way so they can excel in their role. That's really what it's all about. So it's not just Chris and I doing all that stuff. We don't do the production. We don't do the shipping. We don't do all the coaching. We don't, it's not us doing all of that. So it's definitely having a great support system and a team along there with you. So
I had no idea Onyx was from SoCal this entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I think
the founder of Onyx, actually, him and I were training partners under Takano together like 10 years ago. And him and I always stayed close. He started Onyx right around the same time that I started SoCal. And for the first maybe 3 years, he was running it on his own. And I mean, it's an awesome story because Danny, for the listeners and for anyone,
I think you're talking about Danny Ear.
Yeah, Danny Ear.
Yeah, okay, I know him.
Yeah. So Danny's just like the coolest guy in the world, and super kind-hearted, and loves weightlifting. And the first strap he ever made, he wanted to make a pair of red straps, and he didn't want to do nylon. He wanted to do leather. So he walks into a leather shop, and he buys like a full hide of leather, and then he's trying to cut the leather with like scissors, and he has like no idea what he's doing. And then the guy, he takes the leather hide back to the shop, and he tells the guy like, "Hey, I'm like, it's not working. Like, it's not cutting. I just need to make some." And then the guy told him like, "Dude, you got to buy like special tools. You got to buy special knives." And then he had to learn how to do everything like on his own. And all the original straps were handmade. So it's been a passion project from the very beginning. And after about 3 years, he actually, the three of us and some other athletes, we were in Europe at Masters Worlds, and we were sitting down at dinner one night, and he was like, man, I really want to like take this hobby and like turn it into an actual business. And Sarah and I have always watched Onyx and always thought, man, this company it could have such a strong identity in weightlifting, and it's like rooted in the sport. And so I felt like we could help them. And so we, partnered up with them in the end of 2018. And, immediately we took a giant risk when we became USA Weightlifting sponsors. At the time, the cost of the sponsorship was more than what the company was making on an annual level.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we had to figure out how to make that work.
Yeah.
That is a big spend.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I think you got to be willing to take risks in life. And to me, that was like a no-brainer risk. Because, it might be expensive up front and we're way in over our heads, but it's going to put us right in touch with all the community that we want to be a part of and the community that we already are a part of. Mm-hmm. So it was like, to me, it made a lot of sense. And it was, I don't know, maybe one of the biggest, most pivotal things that we did for that company.
Mm-hmm.
So you've trained under some high profile coaches with Takano and John North. What do you feel like you've learned from them that helps you in business every day?
Man, well, shoot, just so it's interesting that you bring that up, because there's an individual that lives behind the scenes of all this that we don't really talk about a lot, and that is our business coach. I've had some excellent mentorship from Takano, from John North, also from Sean Waxman, and many other coaches out there. And I definitely look to them as mentors for weightlifting and coaching and programming, athlete development, all that type of stuff. But our business coach has probably been the primary driver of mentoring us as business owners. And so to answer your question, what have I learned from them? Shit, so much. Takano just, he impressed upon me so much about weightlifting and like the proper journey of a coach, the proper journey of an athlete, what it takes to build an athlete over an entire career, how to program effectively for those athletes. I mean, the technical models I still use to this day. I've modified them to fit, me and how I view the snatch and the clean and jerk. But it was Takano that instilled all that in me, as well as like this very, I guess, passionate element towards like the history of weightlifting, which is, the history of our sport directly ties to the culture of our sport. And we've had this amazing boom in weightlifting in the last 10 years. And it's brought in probably guys like you, people like us. We're a part of this new wave of weightlifters that have got into the sport in the last 10 years. And it's a beautiful thing, but we're also at risk of losing like what the roots, the heritage, and the culture of the sport is. And that was one of the biggest things that I took away from Takano, was like the value of like our history of the sport. And that's something that we're trying to do with Maverick, which we can get into. But long story short, we're trying to intertwine the relaunch of Maverick Barbell with like the history and the heritage of weightlifting, because that's tied all the way down into the early 1960s.
So was Maverick like operational when y'all acquired it, or was it like a defunct brand?
It was not operational. It was essentially completely dormant. It's been dormant since, I think their last sale was in 2008. Maybe 2009 was the last time they shipped plates out. So there's a shared lineage here. There's a lot of Bobs involved, so bear with me. The founder of Maverick Barbell is named Bob Heiss. And Bob Heiss, he created Maverick Barbell. He also was Takano's first coach and mentor. So when I was training under Takano would always tell me about Maverick Barbell and like these plates, they're the best plates ever. And like, they're indestructible. They were designed for the sport of weightlifting, all this stuff. And years go by, and fast forward, I find Sarah, we were growing SoCal out of a CrossFit gym. And then we finally move into our own location. And then there's a stack of Maverick plates sitting in the gym. And that was the first time I actually ever got to use Mavericks. And so, this is where like I get really passionate about Maverick, because it's not just like another barbell and plate that lives out there. It's like I feel directly tied to it. Yeah. Like I'm a part of that family tree from Takano and Heiss. So they were started in the 60s from Heiss, had their heyday all the way through the 90s. When Heiss passed away in the 90s, it was one of Takano's athletes that took on like the second generation of owning Maverick. And he ran it through the 90s into the early 2000s. And then at which point he couldn't keep the business going because the demand was too high and the technology to make the plates, they couldn't turn the plates over fast enough. So once that 2008 recession hit, that was the time where he was like, okay, I got to focus on, my real thing. And so Maverick went dormant in 2008.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've seen one around somewhere. I don't remember where. Probably Bob's, but also elsewhere I've heard of it.
Yeah. They're incredible, man. We'll have 70 to 100 weightlifters come through our doors every single day, and people fight over the Maverick plates. And our Maverick plates, I got plates that are 40, 50 years old, and they still get used every single day, and they're totally fine.
That is really cool, because a certain brand that shall not be named seems to make tens that die when you sneeze on them.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Whenever we come across them anywhere in the country, we buy them and we get them shipped to us.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for some now.
Well, not if we get to them first.
I know.
Secretly get them and then like jack up the price a little bit,
Yep.
We'll buy it. We'll pay it.
There you go. We're gonna be middlemen now. That's it. So how did you go from like running a weightlifting club out of your garage to having one of the biggest clubs in the country with SoCal weightlifting? Like,
how did we do that, man?
Was it like a straight shot, or we got plenty of time here, so
yeah.
Well,
that's a Sarah story. Yeah.
I mean, no, the vision came from him. The vision comes from him. Chris is very, very good at he's very good at this is the way we describe it. He's very good at the visionary stuff, and he's extremely good at the implementation. And when I first came on, his ability to kind of connect those, that's what he kind of struggled with. And I came in and I didn't have a vision, but I could get on board with what he was excited for, and I had those abilities to kind of connect that. And over the last 7 or 8 years, both of our skills have kind of blended better than, how it used to be, where we both were a lot younger and didn't have those same skills. But that was just kind of where I came in, and I could implement, and I could put structure and organization behind an idea to then, make it come to life. And so we met, and I actually initially joined to just be a weightlifter because I wanted to do weightlifting. But after a couple weeks of being with this group of what was it, 5 or 6 dudes that I was, that's what we were. We were a group of people in a CrossFit gym training. I felt like Chris wanted to do more with it. And so I was kind of watching him, how he was doing it. And I was like, I think this guy needs some help. I feel like I can help him. And I had just graduated my master's in sport management. So my education is business and sport. And so I came to him one day and I said, Chris, can I help you? I feel like I could help you with some of this stuff. And at that stage, it was we got t-shirts for the first time, and we changed the billing from him, maybe getting paid on time to an actual billing cycle that people could put their credit cards into, and super foundational stuff that when you're just starting out a business, that's that's the kind of thing that you need to set up.
I think I was very much like a lot of weightlifting coaches, very passionate about coaching, and it
Yeah,
was like,
we want to coach weightlifting. We don't want to run a business. Like, we want to go and tell people how to snatch.
Yeah.
totally.
We don't want to send invoices out. Like, come on.
Yeah. So that was kind of where it started, and then we started to grow. We got to like 20 or 25 weightlifters, and we were still in that CrossFit gym. And then we were kind of thinking like, man, it would be so cool if we had our own facility. Like, we could call the shots, and we wouldn't have to like listen to like the rules or the hours that we had to train under, being told by someone else. And I just remember thinking that would be so cool if I could have my own facility. SoCal could have its own gym. And so I knew of a CrossFit gym that was interested in closing. And so we approached them and basically said, could we buy your gym? And they said yes. And then we moved in, we bought their facility, or not their facility, but the gym, the business. And that was basically where we have been we had a 5-year lease. We were there for 5 years, and then we've just moved. But in that process, I think when you look at or think about like, the size of our gym, I don't really like a really successful other micro gyms are 200, 300 plus people, it's not unusual to see a facility that like, some CrossFit gyms and like things like that, facilities that are really successful, or personal training studios, or just general, HIIT studios or something. Like, it's not unreasonable for them to have 200 to 300 members. And when we took over the gym, our business coach, who Chris kind of referenced before, his name's Evan, he was coaching the previous owner. So we just kind of like absorbed the contract with him. And thank goodness, because we would not be here if it weren't for him. Yeah. But through that, we met and saw a ton of other gym owners that were also, working under and with Evan, and we
different things. We were the only weightlifting gym, but there's CrossFit, personal training,
HIIT studios,
yeah.
And so our kind of like perspective on what a gym could be, it was never us comparing ourselves to another weightlifting gym. We weren't looking at other we weren't looking at other weightlifting gyms with 30 people. We were looking at other studios that were making $40K, or probably at that time like $25K or $30K or $40K a month, that we thought that would be amazing. That's so cool. And we looked and we saw these other, it's the same industry, but other service offerings, I guess you could say, right? That were doing, right, that were doing 40K, 50K. Some of them were doing like 60K a month. And we were like, okay, this can be done. We can do this. We just have to do it, Yeah. So I think it was that kind of exposure to other niches, like you said, that allowed us to not just like think with the perspective that, this is what a weightlifting gym can accomplish, or this is what it can become. It was like, it can become so much bigger than that, because I've seen it done elsewhere. So how do we just apply all these things we've learned to a weightlifting gym?
I think that's a really important outlook, because a lot of times you talk to weightlifting coaches, especially like a lot of old school coaches, and they're always like, weightlifting's a niche sport. It's never going to be that popular. You can't have a huge club. But I think if you approach it as a mindset of how can we do what every other like niche fitness studio is doing, then I think it's a really positive outlook for growth. So
because Brittany has like, I don't know, I thought she has like 200, but it's all spread out.
Yeah, she's got like 250 overall, but they got 3 satellite
60?
locations.
Yeah, I think it's like 50 or 60 the main site, if I remember correctly. So obviously that's big.
I think. Yeah, I think they're 160 at the main site. But yeah, they're
160
big club.
Yeah. Which is unheard of.
Like Camargo's in Florida is a huge club, and most of his is remote. He has satellite locations. So I think approaching it as a mindset of how can we grow and how can we get people involved is a lot more productive than just rattling off, oh, it's a niche sport, you're never going to be big. So do you market like specifically for weightlifting then? Like that's what we're marketing, and that's kind of people we're trying to get in? That's awesome.
I mean, the first thing you see on our website is achieve and maintain your weightlifting goals. Like if you come to us for anything else, we're going to redirect you elsewhere, basically, other than open gym. You want to train in a facility like ours and you have programming from elsewhere, you're welcome to train with us. But we're not looking to pick up anybody else. Actually just like 2 hours ago, I was talking with a girl and she said something about her 3 lifts, and I clarified with her. I'm like, do you want powerlifting? Do you want powerlifting, or do you want snatch, clean, and jerk? Because if you want powerlifting, go elsewhere. If you want snatch, clean, and jerk, then we're your people. So definitely, yeah, we market just to that.
That's awesome.
I don't remember I've looked at your website, but I don't remember if you have classes. Like I know Bob has classes, and then like the team is like another adjunct of the whole program offerings. I don't know if you're doing basically like a class base, and then you have team, and I don't know. I
Yeah.
could probably look it up.
Yeah, how is it structured? Yeah.
Yeah, we can tell you all about that.
So we run it essentially as a large group training model. We have 24-hour access to our facility, so our athletes can essentially come in and train whenever they want. But we have designated coaching hours.
Yeah.
We run a morning session a couple times a week from 6 to 8 a.m. And then the large majority of everyone will train between 2:30 and 8:30 p.m. And those are our coaching hours. And we'll always have at least one coach on the floor during those times. Usually it's a lot more, like, 20 minutes before this call, I was on the floor with 4 of my other coaches. So there's 5 coaches out there all coaching. And Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, those are all going to be like peak times where it's super busy. I think on Tuesdays and Saturdays, we'll run 2 or 3 coaches. And then Thursdays, International Weightlifter Rest Day, we have 1 coach on.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
How big is your facility now compared to what it used to be at the older 5-year contract place?
So with this space, we gained, I think, a little under 3,500 square feet. So we were sitting just, or maybe a little over, because I think we were just shy of 7,500 square feet. And then this new spot is a little bigger than 10,000.
That's a big spot.
That's big, yeah.
Yeah. And we didn't gain like a ton more like training space. Honestly, it's almost the same size, maybe a little bit better, a little bit bigger, but a better layout. And what it did was it allowed us to collapse all the businesses under one roof. At the old spot, we had like a separate unit that we paid rent on. And then there was an additional unit that Onyx was in. So it's basically like juggling 3 different landlords. And so this space allowed just everything to come in house under one roof.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier.
And it was probably a similar cost for a little bit of cost reduction to do all that, right?
Yeah. I think per square foot, we actually are paying less than we were at the old spot. So I mean, monthly's a little bit higher because overall square footage is more, but like per square foot, it's actually a little cheaper.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
And we do, we do, because we get rent from like Onyx pays rent to us to help cover, and that kind of thing. So
yeah, we got a PT in house.
The actual like financial impact on SoCal was like maybe $500 or $1,000 more in rent. It was really
worth it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think there's a lifter. I don't think he really lifts that much anymore, but I think he works for Onyx. Because I think I see him posting with Caesar all the time. He's originally from what was it? It was in Monrovia. It's now Sealy Strength, but it's called like Team CrossFit Academy. I'm trying to think of his name. Like I'm trying to look it up on Instagram, and I can't remember his name right now.
Is he a lifter that trains here now?
I don't know if he's really lifting anymore. I think he just works at Onyx. Younger guy, probably like 25 to 30. Why can't I think of his name?
You talking about blonde-haired kid?
I think he's got like brown hair now, long, and he used to play hockey. Not Nate. That doesn't ring a bell.
No.
He would have been from Monrovia at one point.
I'm drawing a blank. So does Rimit.
Oh, Derringer?
Yeah, Derringer.
Derringer, yes, Derringer's so yeah. So I was like, just thinking about that because.
Yeah, he's around.
Yeah, he's around.
He's around.
He's got another full-time job. I think he works for Brixton now.
Yeah,
the hat company.
And he's one of our coaches.
Yeah.
He's one of our coaches' roommates.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
He's a homie.
Cool.
He's a homie.
Derringer's awesome. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
It's funny how because especially when you mentioned Danny Ear, like that's one of my buddies' kind of good weightlifting friends down in LA. I was like, oh, Danny Ear. I hear of him all the time. I don't really know him personally. Like my buddy talks about him and
yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so
So,
let's see.
what advice would you have for other aspiring weightlifting moguls?
Yeah, well, I mean, it all depends on what you're trying to achieve with it. You know, like
I think, like, sorry to cut you off, but like, I wanted to say this earlier, like that when Sarah was talking about like what helped the business grow is like this like growth and perspective. Like that was part of it. You know, seeing other fitness industries, fitness niches. Um, the thing that I wanted to add to that, and it directly applies to what you just said, Melvin. It's you got to have a vision. You know,
Yeah.
if you're really passionate about it, um, just know that passion will only go so far. Like you have to have a vision of what you want your life to look like and how you want to impact others. And there's different ways that people do it. You know, like look at John Coffey. You know, one of the legendary
Hmm.
women's weightlifting coach that ran like the most successful female program in the entire country. And
For years, yeah.
Coffey's business model was entirely different than what we built here at SoCal. You know, it was 3 or 4 platforms. It was super tiny. It was like he was in the mix every single day, like in the trenches with the athletes. And like he pursued that vision and he achieved success that like no other weightlifting coach has been able to really replicate on the female side. Um, you know, he'll go down in history as one of the greatest coaches we've ever had. Like
Yeah.
my vision for SoCal and like what I wanted my vision for weightlifting to be and like where I felt I could be most useful, it was just different. It was I wanted to build I wanted to get as many people involved in the sport of weightlifting as possible. And I wanted to put an athlete on an international stage, the Olympics one day. And so to me, I felt like I got to a point where I was at a crossroads and I realized I can't do this all by myself. There's too much to manage. There's too much to juggle. There's too many things that you have to put in place to be able to support an athlete and develop an athlete over 15 or 20 years. And
Yeah.
so that was where I started to clarify the vision. And it was okay, if we build something that's big and I get coaches that can do this full time, and it's not just me, but it's a team of coaches that are professional coaches that do this full time, then we can make this happen. But we're going to need to grow it to 200, 300 weightlifters. And
Yeah.
through that will come the talent pool, and we'll be able to ID the talent out of that, and we'll be able to grow into those international caliber athletes. So if there's any advice I have for someone that's just starting off is like get very clear on like what your vision is and what you want your impact to actually look like. And there's no wrong way to do it. There's you can look anywhere and you can find different successful programs that have found their way of how they're executing their vision.
Yeah. And then I think it comes down to implementation, right? We can't all keep our heads in the clouds and like, you know, what if it to
Mhm.
death? You really have to start figuring out, well, how am I going to do that? And how am I going to get there? And what are those next steps? And a lot of times, you know, you can't do it alone. And a lot of times, you need someone, you're going to have different skill sets. And so I think being really aware of what your skill set is and surrounding yourself with people who have other strengths that are like that counter yours, that are different than yours, that's really going to be the way that you can do it. And it's interesting, like I do business consulting and I work with other weightlifting gyms, and it's really
Mhm.
neat to see other people's visions, you know, like what we have accomplished is not what everybody wants to accomplish. Other people want to just do it on their own and keep it smaller, and not have, you know, the overhead and the demands that we have, and that's entirely fine. And so you're going to have your own and figure out, you know, what you want to accomplish, and then from there, you know, it's how are you gonna do that, and what steps are you gonna take, and who are you gonna surround yourself with that's gonna help you get there. So that's kind of,
What, how, and who?
yep.
See, that's interesting because I know, like, I used to be a gymnastics coach, and there's one guy in gymnastics that everyone sees at all the National Congress named Frank Celine or something. And, like, he's the business gymnastics coach everyone ends up going to. And there's probably a couple more, but he's like the go to guy that I remember seeing for like 15 years. He might be retired by now. but it's like the same thing. We don't see that really in weightlifting. There's a couple different brands in like CrossFit, like Mad Lab was a one, and then like there's some other ones I could probably think that but it's still pretty, like I know OPEX is trying to do its own thing as well.
Yeah.
But it's still very, very sparse, so untapped in a sense.
Yeah.
Because like most weightlifting gyms are like, we got 30 people, this is great. And it's like, well, that's not going to really
When
support
I had a
their
club of like
livelihood.
25 people, I thought I was doing great. Like I was like, this is it. I made it. I got a national level weightlifter. I got a girl taking youth national attempts in the training hall. Like this is great. But then life goes on. So has your vision evolved over time?
Yeah, it's definitely evolved. I remember, let me think dates wise. This was probably somewhere around 2015, early 2016. I think it was actually the spring of 2016. So we were a year and a half in. Sarah was just coming into the picture, and our director of weightlifting, Spencer, who's still here to this day, him and I went to Salinas, and we took our level 2 course. And I remember on that drive home, I was talking to him and telling him like what the vision of SoCal is. And it was kind of like a word vomit of like, grow something big and like do essentially what we're doing now. I think over the years, the evolution, like the core of it hasn't really changed that much. It's gotten a lot clearer. And I think I've grown as a leader and grown in my role to understand like who can help me achieve this vision. But the core of it, I think, has been pretty stable for the last 6 or 7 years now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I see it as, we used to want to do, three locations in 3 years or something to that extent. And I think that the population where we are could certainly handle it. There's definitely cities and areas that we could open up a location and it would do fine and do well and succeed. But when we start looking at, well, how much of a headache would that be? And we start talking with our other friends in these other businesses, these other gyms, but other types of businesses that have opened multiple locations and then they shut it down or whatever. And we start hearing the realities of that. We kind of wonder, is this really what we want to accomplish? And then we pull our staff into it too. And it's the vision of SoCal is greater than just now what Chris wants or what we want together. It's what do we want to go through with our staff? What do our staff want to accomplish? Spencer and our other staff member, Cody, they've been with us basically from before. I mean, both of them were before me. Yeah. They've been a part of SoCal. They've been with us.
Garage days.
Yeah. And so, we think, well, like, those are conversations we have with Spencer. Spencer, what do you want to accomplish? Would you want to open another location? Is that something you would be passionate about? Because it's not just about us anymore. There's other people that are on this team that like, they have to be bought into what we're doing. And if we're just telling them, go and deal with this, it's not going to work out. They got to be as excited about it as we are. And so, as a business, you always are continuing to learn and grow. And right now, that's not our main priority, opening another location, but that doesn't mean we can't do it in a year or two. It doesn't necessarily take it off the table. It's just what do we as a team decide what our focus is right now and what do we want to accomplish? And then from there, there's always an option of we could do that in the future. Not now doesn't mean no, it just means not now, right? Yeah. So
there are more pressing priorities for the team to work on.
Right.
And in a sense, it's probably like, I think you're Newport Beach, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And like I want to say like 2021 is probably when the lockdown stopped as much. I don't remember what they were like in Orange County, but by then things were like getting normal-ish. Yeah. More so than like the whole 2020 and early 2021. So did that like affect your business obviously, or was it not as bad in Orange County as like Pasadena and LA?
Yeah, well, we definitely got lucky there. Like LA County, their COVID laws and lockdowns were way more severe than us.
Yeah.
So we were a little fortunate there. But I mean, overall, I saw two things happen in to businesses during COVID, and it wasn't just business; it was teams. It was like, do teams either, like, when you put that pressure on a team, the team's going to do two things. It's either going to crack, fracture, split apart, and then everything dissolves, or that team's going to get like even more united and even closer, even more aligned. And that's fortunately what happened to us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we pivoted really fast. We went just like a lot of gyms. We were, I think, within like 24 hours of the initial lockdown, we were already up on Zoom and doing Zoom calls, and we gave away the entire gym. Like, every single piece of equipment and in the gym was out of the gym within 24 hours.
To our members.
Yeah, to all of our members. And we didn't charge anybody for it. It was almost an insurance policy that one day they'll come back. And so we just pivoted fast. And then we had staff meetings. We run a staff meeting every week, and we have coaching one-on-one meetings with every staff member every week. And we have programming meetings. We have a lot of meetings. But before COVID, all we had was one staff meeting during the week. And then during the lockdowns, we started meeting like 3 times a week. And then those one-on-ones with coaches, and everyone got like super tight and super unified and very aligned. And we came out of COVID stronger than we did going in, for sure.
Mm-hmm. As a team,
really cool.
financially,
Yeah.
there was a lot of benefits for us.
Yeah.
Because I don't
That's really
know.
cool.
I thought there was a Long Beach weightlifting down there. I don't even know what's down there anymore. But like,
Yeah.
there's Sense, and I think there's some other little clubs that like are CrossFit gyms. But I don't really remember the scene very often. I have people tell me what it's like down that way. Like,
Yeah.
I think Long Beach is technically in LA County, right?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Yeah, they made it through.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the guy that runs that, him and I have known each other for years. He's a good guy. Yeah, he runs Long Beach Weightlifting. There's another one, Rep Max. I think we lost one down in South County. The coach, he made it through the pandemic, but then struggled coming out of it and took a different life path. So we lost that gym. So between us and San Diego County, we're like the last weightlifting program in like Southern Orange County area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cause that's right. Because you also manage the YSO. Like you took it over from, what's his name, Dave something, out of San Diego, right? Weren't
Yeah.
you the next president?
Yeah, Dave Miller was the previous LWC president, and then in 2019, Sarah and I both got involved in the LWC, and then essentially the board, pretty much the same board we had, was voted into the WSO board.
Okay.
So we're on the California South WSO.
I thought
Yeah.
California had 2 WSOs. I was like, I couldn't remember.
We have a North as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have like North Central. I don't remember what it Pacific. I don't remember what it's called anymore. But it's something North, if I remember correctly, is the WSO, and I think it starts at like, I don't know, Fresno or Salinas or something. I don't know, something
Yeah.
like that.
I think you're right, Blair. I think it's like Slow, Fresno. That's kind of like the cutoff
Yeah.
between California South and California North.
It's funny too, because I remember seeing when Chris took it over, I was like, who is this Chris guy? Because like you see the names and we're like, okay, those names, but I didn't even connect it this entire time, even though I think I met you at the Kano that one day in like 13 or 14.
Yeah, I was trying to remember, because you in our chats prior to the podcast, you were saying that I think we crossed paths, and I was drawing a blank, but
I think I only dropped in at Bob's at Pasadena like twice.
yeah,
But I do remember, I think you were there one day, and I was like, why does this guy look familiar? Like, is that him? It's been 10 years though. Like, so your faces change a lot
yeah.
in 10 years.
Well,
I've only done weightlifting in California once, and it was at the YMCA in Berkeley, and I got kicked out for knocking the paint off the ceiling because they had their weight room on the second floor.
Yeah, there you go.
I wasn't even going that heavy. I think I maybe went to like a 125. Like, not even. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't even know there was a YMCA in Berkeley.
yeah, it's down.
Interesting.
it was a crazy time, but
Yeah, interesting. But they've
so
probably never seen a 125 either.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean they're right. It was right next to Cal's campus. I'm sure somebody's walking
Oh,
there and
okay.
is dummy strong. Yeah. um, so y'all also have you have a lot of good weightlifters. Like Caesar is one of my favorite weightlifting personalities. And online, he also has a big social media following. And if I remember right, you have a couple other members that have kind of bigger social media presences. Is there anything unique about managing those athletes, or are they just like everybody else?
Well, I mean, it definitely comes with the territory. If you athletes nowadays, they have an opportunity to like build their own personal brand and continue to pursue their passion as an athlete, and I'm in support of that. There's a lot of coaches that will set rules in place, like no videos, no posting. They don't want any posting coming into meets. I understand that, but I also think, we live in a different world than what it was 5-10 years ago. And it's a part of our sport now, and it helps. There's a lot of people that come into our gym that, tell me like, oh, I watched Zach Tellender on YouTube for the last 6 months and I taught myself how to lift. And it's shit. That's how I got into it. I was a Cal Strength addict, just like a lot of, so much that I like quit my job and moved across the country to sleep on John North's couch and live with him.
That's pretty cool.
So like it's tough because there is a fine line where the athlete, if it's not managed properly, they could start to distort like, what are we really after? What's the main thing? Like sometimes and like, and Caesar will tell this to you if you talk to him about it. Like when Caesar went through a knee injury a couple years ago, like he wasn't able to lift and train with the same type of mentality. And so, he got pulled into that sphere of social media just like a little too much. And then the line starts to get distorted, like what are we really doing? Are we doing social media to support our weightlifting, or are we now like a social media, personality? So I think those are the cautions that I just try to bring up if I feel like those lines are getting blurred. But for the most part, my athletes are great about it. They film their lifts, they post their stuff, they grow their own brands, they have their own following, and I'm in support of that. I think it's just getting more eyeballs on the sport. And then as a coach, I just make sure that, the main thing stays the main thing. And we're here for training, and we're here to try to win medals, to make teams. And so that's how I approach it. It's maybe not perfect all the time, but we try to do our best.
Do you guys have a teen or like a youth program at all?
We do have a youth program. I'd say we probably got about 20 kids.
Okay.
We've had some very, very talented youth kids in the past. We put a couple kids on some youth teams.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a 5th place at Youth Worlds. We had 2 second places at Youth Pan Ams, multiple national champs. And I mean, I think if you capture a young talent and you put them on like a semi-decent program and you halfway know what you're doing, like you can develop like good quality youth kids for sure. But if you look, what's interesting is the jump from athletes that go from youth to a junior team. It's about 11% will make that jump.
Yeah.
And then from a junior team to a senior team, it increases, but it's still about 25% of junior team members will make a senior world team or a senior Pan Am team. So
Interesting.
Do you have an opinion on where that drop off is coming from? Is it just, kids finding different sports? Is it other people coming into the sport? Like, do you have any opinions on that?
Yeah. I mean, anecdotally, from my experience, I think one of the number one contributing factors, I think, is how the coach lays out the long-term plan and how they can cultivate an athlete to help set them up for success in those critical transitionary periods. So moving from youth into juniors, moving from juniors into seniors. And I think it's pretty easy to get caught up when you have a talented youth kid to get them on a world team, to get them at nationals, you know? And think about, I'm not blaming coaches. I'm talking from my own experience because I feel like I did this.
Because as a coach, you're like, "Ooh, I want my athletes to do good. I want them to do well," and you're as excited and enthusiastic about it. And it's easy for the athletes to get excited.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Before they really think it through all the time. Sometimes.
Totally. There's and so you kind of put the pressure on in a way that like over 4 or 5 years of their youth career, it can really start to compound. And you think you're moving slow, you think you're doing the right thing, you think you have a long-term plan in place, but then once that athlete hits that transitionary period, and now they can go to the bars, they can drive around, they can go chase girls or boys, whatever. Their interests start to change. And if I were to go back and rewind, I think there's a lot of things that I could have done differently with some of my very talented youth kids that would have set them up for success and got them more prepared for juniors and more prepared for seniors. That's critical. You want to take an athlete to the Olympics, they need to be doing this for 15 years, 20 years. That's normal. Not all of us have, the freaks out there that they're a year, 2 years into the sport and they're making teams.
Like going to the Olympics, Well, that was like we had Sasser on, and we asked like, "Hey, what was your first snatch? Like the first time you did it?" She's like, "It was over body weight." I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah." I just walked in, did it. It wasn't that hard.
Yeah, that honestly,
Not
guys,
fair. Not fair.
I think that's one of the most like critical mistakes a coach can make is that they have a highly talented athlete when they're new to coaching and they haven't fully understood like what an actual long-term development looks like for an athlete. Yeah. And we get so caught up in the talent and we push athletes in international competition so fast. And that's like single track. Let's get to the big meets as fast as we can. But if we just take a step back and we look at like, okay, what's best for this athlete? How do I set this athlete up for long-term success? Not next year, not in 2 years, but in 4, 5, 10 years, 15 years down the road. So, that's what we've tried to implement with our youth program. So the youth program's changed a lot over the years. It used to be very strictly weightlifting. Now it's not. Now it's very, very little weightlifting. It's a lot more general strength conditioning, strength development, speed development. And then over time, we slowly, work the lifts back in.
Yeah. And you look at, when you look at how much easier it is to put a youth athlete on a team, or even the junior versus a senior, it's like we want to be filling out a senior team. That's our goal, not just stocking a youth team. And I mean, no discredit to those that do youth. Like Hassle Free has an amazing program for introducing weightlifting to the youth. I want to see that all day long.
They started as an after school program too, so like it's 100% makes sense for them to be focused youth and junior and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think for us, it's like, well, what is the goal? It's really to put the seniors as get them doing as well as they can. So we want to develop that long term. It's not about what numbers you hit at 15 years old anymore. It's not about those things. So
and the seniors are super deep these days. Like the super session, like at nationals, the highest total before that on the whole the whole hemisphere was a 390 or a 391. I think one of them hit a Pan Ams. And so then you go in and you got Kaiser coming in with like 400 something. You got Aaron at 390. You got Medina at 390 something, and they're all right there close. Like that's a super deep national session. That was something you didn't see in USA weightlifting 10 years ago.
No,
you'd have like one dude that could do it. And now we got 3 that are up there just battling out for it. So
totally.
And not just
really Caesar missed bronze by what, like 1 kilo or something? Like he was right there.
Caesar.
Yeah. He was. I think he was 1 kilo off. Yeah.
So I mean,
but that's the conversation I have with him all the time. I'm like, dude, the supers, man, that class is deep now.
It is.
You
Yeah,
know?
it's not just Kane
Uh-uh.
anymore. It's a bunch of them.
Yeah. So, and I think that there's definitely kind of two tiers there. You got Kane, Kaiser, Medina, and Aaron, and then you got that next tier down. And there's a lot of those dudes are capable of doing like 350 to 365 on any given day. And then you got this next group that are all doing like 390 up. So, and it's not like what Sarah's about to say. It's not just them. That's what I love about USA Weightlifting right now. It's getting so competitive. All the classes are getting deep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so good to see. Like, we can get caught up in minutia and the daily bullshit of like what's going on in our world, but like when we actually take a step back and we look at USA Weightlifting as a whole over the last 2 quads, man, the talent is getting so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah. My total right now would have placed me like top 8 at nationals when I started in the sport, and now I can't even qualify.
Keep up, bro.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, I'm fine. You know what? I'll be a master's next year. Let's just get ready for that.
Oh man, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw master. It's gonna be.
You start thinking about masters. This guy right here.
Yeah.
Master 35 is actually pretty competitive. It starts taming out once you hit like 40, 45, but the 35
Blair,
to 39 is crazy.
Let me have my moment here, Blair. Let me have my hope. Let me have my hope.
I don't know if it's as big with the big guys in 35 to 39, but like those middle classes are pretty crazy.
I'm sure 30-something-year-old dudes that want to feel like they're still athletic, I'm sure it's going to be competitive. So, what was the other one I was going to say? But I saw Masters for Nationals for next year is announced. It's going to be in Pittsburgh. Yeah. So that's my my resolution here is I'm not going to have a pierogi until I can have one at Nationals. I've never even had a pierogi in my life, so I don't even know what to expect. I'm thinking it's like maybe a Polish empanada. Like I gotta go find out now. So I gotta qualify. That's it. That's the one way to get them. Just I don't know. I kind of like Polish empanada. I don't know. That might take the wind out of my sails to think of it as a dumpling.
It sounds more fancy as a Polish empanada.
Yeah, I know. So,
I guess another question to think is, and because you're the YSO, in case 2028 comes back to weightlifting gets back in the Olympics,
what is
the SoCal? Well, what did you guys call yourself? South Central? No, not that. Whatever the YSO down there is called.
California South, WSO.
California South. Okay, not South Central. South Central LA. If they're going to have an impact on I guess the games would be in Los Angeles somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I know they had something to do with the 2017 Worlds.
Yep.
Sort of.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, Blair. So you're right. We were involved with the volunteers for Worlds in 2017. And so I would imagine if they follow the same playbook that they did for Worlds, the way that it would play out in 28, which I was told by the CEO that in October is when we find out if weightlifting is in or out. Okay. So we're still hanging. Yeah. And I asked them, I said, hey, give me your honest opinion. Like, are we in or out? And he said he feels more optimistic than he did when he first took the job like 9 months ago. So
I feel like that's a non-answer.
It is.
I mean, he might not know the answer, but the fact that it's more positive, I think, is a good thing.
Yeah.
It is good.
I've heard that from elsewhere as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So
I didn't remember it being October. I figured sometime after Worlds being in September, they'll have like a meeting and figure things out.
Yeah.
But obviously October makes sense.
That was the day that he told me, but I'm not sure. But to answer the question, I think that USA Weightlifting kind of took the reins on like running the Worlds. with obviously the help of the IWF and all that, and then they just like outsource like the volunteers to the local weightlifting community. So if weightlifting is in LA, then yeah, California South, and most likely California North as well would probably be involved in, trying to make sure that we have volunteers for all that.
Yeah.
I remember looking forward to that, I guess, in 17, but I remember something happened because I thought Waxman was in charge of it, and then I remember hearing about it through Mike.
Yeah, I think at the time, well, the LWC president was Dave Miller, but
yeah,
all of the communication for volunteership came out of Waxman, and Waxman's GM Neil. He coordinated with our team and Barbarian Barbell and all that. Local weightlifting clubs.
So, most important question: if the Olympics are in LA, can you get me a Lasha autograph?
I can try. I'll have to get at least 2 though, because I'll need one as well. But
yeah,
there's gonna be a restraining order against Chris.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to stay at least 500 feet away from Lasha.
Seriously. Yeah, that would be insane. I hope he totals 500 there. It'd be amazing.
I don't know, man. You think he'll still?
I don't know if he.
How old is he now? Is he 28, 29?
I think he's a little bit older.
I want to say he's. I think he's over 30 now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's Google this. How old is Lasha?
I've got it coming up right now.
He better not go into Masters. I'm gonna.
Well, he's 29 right now, and he turns 30
okay.
this year. Yeah, he turns 30 this year. I don't know when, but like, so that puts him at 35 in LA, basically. Not quite, but
highest total from a Masters ever.
A super can handle it.
Yeah.
And probably with what he's on, he could handle it.
He might lose his breath walking up the stairs, but hey.
Yeah.
Well, luckily LA is not that high, so it'll be cool.
Do you remember when was that? That was Rosada Day in like 2004. Yeah, I think 2000 or 2004, and he's just like out of breath walking up the stairs to the bar.
It's insane. And then goes and smashes a world record.
Yeah, I think he cleaned like 260 or something, like something ridiculous.
Yeah. 260, 263.
Sounds about right.
Yeah,
a little more than...
it was something up there. Yeah, he was way up there.
Yeah, because it didn't get broken until Alexei. Well, technically it got broken in 2015.
Oh yeah, Lovchev. I forgot about it.
Yeah, Lovchev broke it, and then that got stripped after the pop, and then Lasha broke it.
Yeah, and that was the all time because the other two. What was Tarayenko's? Was it a 264 or 265? He did it at that Australian meet with the crackers.
I think it was 266.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I think Pisarenko did 265 way back early 80s.
Yeah.
Those are some big goals, man.
Kraichev snatched 217 somewhere in the mid 80s as well.
Yeah.
There was a power lifter asking, he's like, hey, why don't weightlifters train with more machines? I was like, well, we got snatch, we got clean, we got jerk, we got squats. I mean, we got.
Oh, do you guys have any machines?
Yeah.
Do you guys have any machines at all in your gym at all?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we have a bodybuilding pit. It's all. I mean, I think it's carefully designed machines for weightlifters.
Yeah.
You know, we have.
This dude was like, why aren't weightlifters doing more leg presses? And I was like, have you ever deadlifted like 4 times a week? He's like, yeah, I put like 40 kilos on my deadlift. I was like, cool. Now imagine doing a max vertical jump and a front squat with that 4 times a week and tell me how you feel.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, we use it a lot though. We program a lot of bodybuilding, a lot of accessory work.
Yeah, that was a benefit of moving to our new location is that we have what we call our bodybuilding pit now.
Nice.
And so Chris went on Sornex and ordered 5 or 6 machines?
I think we got 7 machines, and then we got like dumbbells, all the way up.
Have you considered renaming it the Bro Pit?
Ooh, bro in that pit. I like that. Yeah.
We put the mirrors up too in front of the dumbbells so that our athletes
There you go.
get their pump on. Yeah. So basically all the equipment is really, it accessorizes for weightlifters. So it's not just equipment to have equipment. It's there specifically for them. And we have, some bikes and rowers and that kind of thing as well. But a lot of it is
Coming to get hurt up, yeah.
Yeah, or warm up. Lots of times weightlifters like to hop on an echo bike for that kind of thing.
I'm always freaked out about mirrors in a weightlifting gym, not because of the actual weightlifting, because I used to work in Anytime Fitness, and I was in there one night, and this dude, there was like this punching bag, because the owner was he was an MMA fighter. So there's this punching bag, like a heavy bag, and this guy's like punching, and he tries to tackle it right into the mirror. Right into the mirror. It's just the end of it, just boom, and the mirror goes.
No.
I was like, oh my god.
We only have mirrors in the bodybuilding pit. There's no mirrors in the weight.
There's no future. I think Tatum
stuff
broke
in
a
front
mirror,
of him.
if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
in one video where like the bar went behind him and then it crashed into a mirror rather than going through the glass like what it did with Rogers. But I know.
Well, that's like Jimmy and Alex Lee. They like to lift in a mirror, and I was like, I absolutely cannot do that.
Yeah.
I can't stare into the void and do a snatch.
Yeah.
So. I personally, I wish I had one lane or one platform with a mirror in front of it. I think that there's actually a lot of value in having an athlete in front of a mirror and just get like lost in the movement and watching their movement. And looking for symmetry, looking for balance.
That's exactly what Jimmy talked about.
I'm blacking out on every snatch. I don't know what y'all are talking about.
Yeah. Well,
I've blacked out on a jerk before and just hope that I made it.
Yeah. We call it, it's basically just like stick work. We call it white belt mentality. And we program it a lot throughout the year. And we'll have our athletes just, once they're done with their snatch and clean and jerk session, like just, all right, 20 minutes with the stick. And if I had a mirror in place, they could use a stick or a bar, something really light, and just like look for patterns, look for movement, and just like really mentally get absorbed in like the movement, and I think that's where a mirror can be valuable, and with kids, because kids, they're so
they don't have,
I think we had our youth lifters do that with our mirrors, is they could take a stick in between sets and they just face the mirror and do a stick snatch, stick jerk or something. And it's also because it kept them busy because they're boys. They're like young boys, so you need to keep them.
I've been coaching a kids class this summer, and every time the kids do not have something to do, they're gonna go find something to do, and it's usually not good.
No.
Like I will turn around and there's one of them on top of the squat rig, and it's like, why had happened?
You gotta move them.
You gotta keep them at. Yeah. So I can see that being good for him, but all right.
But you can get those portable mirrors as well. Like I know.
Yeah, they use.
I think that's what it looks like. Jimmy has. It's like a portable mirror or something. It's not even. It's like one of those dance mirrors that they have, where it's not like a true mirror or something. They're pretty cheap.
I feel like Susie should do an unpopular weightlifting opinion about mirrors. We got to see how many people are actually going to do this.
Yeah, I would be interested to hear what coaches have to say about mirrors.
Yeah.
All right.
So things to plug, because obviously you have Maverick.
We got all kinds of stuff.
Consulting. Onyx.
Do it.
Yeah. There's. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about plugs. It's interesting because we at the end of the day, we're just so passionate about weightlifting, and we're trying to figure out ways, how can we build an ecosystem of gyms and businesses that all have a common goal. And, at the center of that is the athletes. So if we can run profitable businesses that can give back to athletes that are, pursuing an Olympic dreams, that's directly ties into the vision that we're after. Yeah. And that's really why there's so much involvement with, these other companies. It's because it all fits inside of this ecosystem of supporting athletes. So if coaches or if fans of the sport, are behind what we're trying to do, well then maverickbarbell.com, you're going to go find the only American made lifetime warranty plate which, by the way, all other competitors are anywhere between a year and 7 years at the most.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're doing a lifetime warranty on plates. You know,
You'll die.
That's crazy.
I
Yeah.
mean, when we got 50-year-old plates in our gym, it's like, well, this is a no-brainer.
yeah.
Nothing's
Yeah.
going to happen to them.
So, you know, and it's like we stand behind the product. If you're using the product correctly and, you know, taking care of it, which is not much for a plate, just don't be an asshole and throw it across the gym and, you know, basic stuff. Like the plate will literally last you forever.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
if
pretty
you
cool.
if you want to go buy literally the best weightlifting plate ever made, then go to maverickbarbell.com. You know, and if you want high quality leather products, belts, wrist wraps, straps, onyxstraps.com. You know, it's a team of weightlifters. Everyone we employ, they're all weightlifters that are a part of the team or a part of the gym. And we make the products that we use every day, you know, so we know exactly, you know, what a weightlifter needs and how your product should function. And everything is very minimal and it's designed so you don't even have to think about what is on your wrists or around your waist. You can focus on the lift. So Onyx straps, best leather products out there by far.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to, sorry, go ahead.
Do you feel like that ties into the history of the sport with how York used to support their weightlifters?
Dude, it's funny you bring that up, Melvin. You ever heard of Muscletown, USA?
I have not.
I think I've heard of it.
What is
All right.
Muscletown, USA?
It was written by John D. Fair, a gentleman that I'm actually just emailed with earlier today because I'm asking him questions about the history of Maverick. John D. Fair wrote the book called Muscletown, USA. It's basically a biography on Bob Hoffman and York Barbell.
Okay.
So,
oh yeah, I see it now.
Small little side story here. Bob Hoffman with York and then Bob Heiss with Maverick. Those two had a very strong East Coast, West Coast rivalry.
Oof.
And it was kind
to
of
say the least. Just that was putting it nicely.
Yes. Yeah. It was kind of a David and Goliath because Hoffman, I mean, he was the man. He was, in my eyes, he was the original entrepreneur of strength sports. And I mean, almost single-handedly built USA weightlifting, got involved in powerlifting. He had strength and health that lasted for, you know, decades and decades. I mean, the guy was into everything, but at the core of it, what was it all around? It was all supporting his athletes to go to the Olympics and, you know, represent the U.S. And so that book played a huge role in my life because it really started to open up my perspective on, like, okay, it's been done before. You can build an ecosystem of businesses that support athletes. And so I draw a lot of inspiration from that, which is funny because now I'm like a part of the history of his rival. So I don't know how those things kind of line up together, but I don't know, learn from everybody, I guess. And then I think the last main plug is for all the gym owners out there is like get in touch with Sarah. You know, she's been the brains behind this whole thing. You know, I've had a vision and I'm very passionate about coaching and athletic development. And I love the sport of weightlifting. And none of it would have been possible if it wasn't for Sarah behind the scenes, structuring SoCal weightlifting and Onyx and now Maverick in a way that allows us to grow and achieve the goals that we have.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can go to the website. So I work with a business. It's myself and Evan, who was our business coach, just the two of us. Gymbuildermethod.com. So we work with other gyms to help, you know, work through, you know, what you're wanting to accomplish. So yeah, gymbuildermethod.com. You can book a call with me there. And that would probably be the best way if you're wanting to learn more about, you know, what you want to accomplish with your business and how to get there. So that's the biggest thing. So we do group and one-on-one meetings and calls. And the group calls are just as valuable as the one-on-ones, you know, when you start to like look around and see what other people are doing and not just kind of tucked into your own world, which is very easy to do as business owners. We feel like nobody else understands. And yeah, just we can chat and see where you're at and see what you want to accomplish and how we can help get you there. That's that's what I'm passionate about. I think in order for me as a with what my skills are to grow weightlifting, it's to help other business owners. I'm not going to be the one programming. I'm not going to be the one coaching. But if I can help your business go from 20 weightlifters to 100 weightlifters, or your business
That's huge. Yeah.
50 to 150, like I have helped the sport of weightlifting, right?
Well, that's the difference between like running it as you're either being poor or like barely making ends meet as a coach, or like a side job, because then you have to go find like another side job, or you could just be doing that if you had 100 lifters. Like,
right. Yeah. And again, like I'm not trying to go out. I mean, I say that, 20 to 100 or whatever, but I'm not trying to go out and make more SoCal weightliftings. If that's not what you want to accomplish, then we don't need, that's not what our focus is going to be, right? Like that, you might not want to have a staff of 4 or 5 full-time coaches to manage, right? Like whatever you want to accomplish with your business, okay, let's go out and make it that. So I just want to, support the business owners. And if that helps weightlifting in the process, like that's great. That's what I'm trying to do here. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
All right.
That's pretty much it, man. Have a passion, have a vision, and then pursue it as hard as you possibly can. And some pretty fun shit will happen along the way, and you'll meet some really cool people, and you'll find yourself on a cool podcast talking about what you love.
Thank
you. So that's all.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, appreciate your guys' time, and thanks for having us.
Thank you. All right. Until next time, everybody. Bye. Oh, wait, I can end broadcast.